Financial records come out and show that Joe Biden has $5.2 million in unexplained income. So we're going to talk about that and what that means and where we go with that. A shooting outside of a Little League field in South Carolina prompts the idea for more gun control as Madison Cawthorn is caught trying to go through the airport with a gun in his bag. So we'll talk just a bit about what's happening with that. Russia will shut off the gas supply to Poland, according to the state-run company. And, well, we've got more Twitter meltdown because it's a day that ends in Y. Plus, we will hear that the lawyer was crying at the meeting talking about the announcement that Twitter was going to be bought. It is going to be all this and more. You're just mad you can't date me. I am Jay Edgar, and this is Contemporary. Good morning, Edheads. Welcome to Contemporary. My name is Jay Edgar, and we have got a fair mess of stuff to go over here today. It's been quite the morning here, trying to get everything out, organized, and verified. That's been one of the important parts of this morning. A little bit of the articles that we have here came from sources that were not necessarily green check verified, especially when it went around with the shooting and the Elon thing. So we've done a little bit of verification to make sure everything was going, and well, IBD took forever to get our article in for this morning too, so that was another little bit of a delay, but we've got to get into it. We've got to get started. The Old Faithful is coming back out. Gun control it is. We're going to come back out to try to do that again and publicize all these big stories that otherwise would have gone off as local stories as well. So let's get into it. Let's get started. Let's figure out what's going on in the world, and let's see what we can unwind, what we can wind up, and where we can go from there. But before we get started, head on over, check out the start page for turnsofpagesproductions.com. Turns of Pages Productions. Also, by the way, I noted in the live chat that there was a complaint about the length of the web page. We also have an alternate web link to go with that. That is tsp-prod.com. 8 characters. That's not too long. We do have both domains. So, tsp-prod.com is also the other one you can go to, but turnsofpagesproductions.com, where we will be your one-stop shop for all of your news and commentary needs. Once we get started, we'll be carrying great shows such as the Daily Ignoramus, the Breakdown with Breckenhoff, the R-Rated Conservative, the Freckles, and not the Freckles and Brit Show because they're no longer in operation, but the Porch Boys, and any project that our friend Brit comes together with, and another new show that's coming up, plus written articles and news and commentary by the common man for the common man. So go check out the website, turnsofpagesproductions.com, if you want to look for news that is by the people for the people. And if you want to help us get started, givesendgo.com/turnsofpages101. It's going to be the way to do that. We have a $20 donation in there, but we are looking to get $2,000 to go help make sure that our friend Bobby Joe gets paid, because we like Bobby Joe around here, to make sure that she gets paid for the work that she plans to do for us as well. So go check that out, turnsofpagesproductions.com, givesendgo.com/turnsofpages101, and let's get started into the news, starting in with the finance for the morning here, looking at the Dow. The Dow lost another 800 points yesterday. Down to 33,240.18. Now, a lot of this is going to signal a buy point for a lot of investors, especially people looking to grab stuff on the cheap coming back up. But there is going to be some concern about the inflation, the economy, and a recession looming. We'll actually be talking from CNN later on, talking about the finance here with some of the woes that they're trying to say here. And Really, honestly, I think they're going to try to pass the buck again off to Republicans. They're going to try to ride this train out until the midterms, which they are, I think a lot of people are pretty positive they're going to lose, and then try to tank this so they can blame the Republican majority in the House and Senate. But we'll see what happens, of course. I don't have a crystal ball. I can make speculation, but we will see where we go from there. Oddly enough, the high in this session, the 52-week session, was 36,000. So we're at a point where we've lost almost 4,000 points on the Dow. Just something to keep in mind in here when everyone tells you that, oh yeah, everything's doing fine right now. But we'll see what happens with that. Let's look in at Bitcoin, which is at 38,893 US dollars and 20 US cents. Over the 5-day, that is down 819 US dollars and 10 US cents. Over the last 24 hours, that took a very significant dip and then started to claw its way back. So looking at that, Bitcoin obviously flirted its way down to the 37,000 mark very briefly, closing down as far as it went at 37,973. I'm sorry, 978. But then clawing its way back to 38,893. So this is going to be a volatile whipsaw market as we start to see the effects of this being one of the more liquid assets that one can hold. One of the easiest to transfer back into US dollars if need be to buy food and diapers. This is going to be the one that takes the brunt of the most of it, which is going to help hold the Dow and the rest of the stock market up. But we'll continue to watch this and see where this goes and what we do with the Bitcoin here. Gas in Madison, Wisconsin. The window is getting tighter and tighter. $3.66 at the Costco in Sun Prairie, with $3.68 at the Mobile in Marshall, but there are still some stations around the Madison area that are $3.69. I had to go up there recently, so there's still some stations up there that are holding the $3.69 mark. We will see what happens with that and where that goes, but yeah, your 345s and your 355s are out the window at this point. We'll see what happens with that. Where we go, what happens with the strategic reserves, and what happens as we go barreling into the midterms. Let's see what IBD has to say for the morning. Dow Jones futures rebound after stock market sell-off worsens. Microsoft jumps on earnings from Scott Latonin. Dow futures rebounded mildly Wednesday after the stock market cut to its lowest level in more than a year. Tech giants Alphabet and Microsoft, along with Dow Jones stock Boeing and Visa, reported their quarterly earnings results. Alphabet dropped 4% early Wednesday after its March quarter earnings and revenue missed Wall Street targets. Spotify and Tech Resources are also among key earnings movers Wednesday morning. Spotify shares gained 3% after better than expected first quarter results. Tech Resources rose around 2.5%. Twitter declined more than 1% after a 3.9% fall on Tuesday, and electric vehicle giant Tesla rallied around 1% Wednesday morning. And yet, over on Twitter right now, they're saying, well, Tesla stock is tanking, and if we tank it more, then they're not going to be able to buy Twitter. No, it's actually coming back up into the pre-market, so we'll see what happens with that. And then go back to the top of the article, of course. Among the Dow leaders, Apple was slightly higher, while Microsoft jumped 4% in today's stock market. Amid a new stock market correction, Dow leader American Express, along with Expedia, Palo Alto, and IBD leaderboard watchlist World Wrestling Entertainment are among Wednesday's top stocks to watch. Microsoft and Tesla are on the IBD leaderboard. Expedia and Palo Alto were featured in this week's Stocks Nearby Zone column. On the futures, ahead of Wednesday's open, the Dow advanced 0.75%, so some of that's coming back from what we saw losing yesterday, while the S&P rose 0.5% versus fair value. NASDAQ 100 futures moved 0.3% versus fair value. Remember that overnight action in Dow futures and elsewhere doesn't necessarily translate into actual trading in the next regular stock market session. Among the ETFs, the NASDAQ tracker Invesco QQQ Trust rose 0.3%, and the SPDR S&P 500 moved up 0.5%. The 10-year Treasury yield traded near 2.76% Wednesday after closing at 2.77% last night. Last week, the yield hit its highest level since December of 2018. Meanwhile, U.S. oil prices bobbed higher, with Texas Intermediate crude holding above $102 a barrel. So some things to watch with the energy cost and the 10-year yield, of course. Now that is coming back down after hitting almost 3% without production to back it up. And there are going to be investment firms out there that are looking at the price drops. That's going to be what's affecting the futures that are coming out to buy it up, notably Vanguard, BlackRock, etc. So an interesting article yesterday that didn't make the cut for today's show, but still interesting to look at here, and that is the fact that there was a fact check out there, massive fact check. See, BlackRock doesn't own any of these big stocks. They don't own all these shares in these companies. Their clients do. No, trust me, if you know anything about how a hedge fund works, that is, while technically correct on paper, the clients aren't making any of the decisions. They're just putting some money in and saying, hey, go make me some money. And yes, they're going back and buying up major portions of the stock market, keeping it out of the hands of individuals. Also buying up major portions of the real estate market and major portions of the government as well. Plus Twitter, or at least attempting to. So that's what we see coming off of that. Let's grab one from CNN on the economy, and then let's get into the big news of the day. From CNN, Dow falls 800 points on recession fears, from Nicole Goodkind. The Dow fell 810 points, or 2.4% in April, in a sell-off spurred by fears of economic slowdown continued following Monday's short-lived recovery. The losses were led by mega-cap stocks as investors await key corporate earnings reports this week. First quarter results from Google parent Alphabet missed estimates on Tuesday afternoon, bringing in $24.62 per share versus the $25.91 expected, according to Refinitiv. The stock fell more than 5% in extended trading. Microsoft's earnings exceeded analyst expectations, but the stock remained flat in extended trading. The tech-heavy Nasdaq dropped about 4%, further retreating into bear market territory. It's now 22% off of its high, and posted a 52-week low Tuesday. The S&P fell by 2.8%. Jerome Powell indicated last Friday there will likely be aggressive interest rate hikes next month. The Dow fell 980 points, or 2.8%. The rate increases are meant to quell runaway inflation, but investors are more worried that an interest rate spike will slow consumer spending and the housing market, ushering in the next recession. And that's going to be the worry. That was the worry when I first started hearing, yes, we're going to jack the interest rates. Because whatever they do with the Fed and the prime interest rate affects what you get for your house, or your car, or your credit card. That's all affected by what Jerome Powell is going to do, and if the interest costs too much, your loan costs too much, there's no way you're going to sit back and spend that kind of money. So looking at where we're going with this, yes, this could be the next housing market crash, and a lot of people are anticipating. There are a lot of people out there, might be me, that are watching for housing prices to drop like a stone, so we can pick up properties that are now going for $250,000 for $40,000, $50,000. That might be optimistic, but I do remember what happened the last time the housing market crashed. So we will see what happens with that. We will see where that goes, and we will continue to watch this. Let's get into the big news of the day, starting with the Daily Mail. A little bit of news coming out of our executive branch, from both top members, of course. Starting with the Daily Mail, exclusive. Joe's missing millions. Financial records reveal Biden had $5.2 million in unexplained income. As emails show, he paid Hunter's legal bills for one megabucks Chinese deal and was tapped as big guy to get a 10% cut in another. Well, $5.2 million, that's a lot of 10%. From Josh Boswell for DailyMail.com. President Biden agreed to pay son Hunter's legal fees for his deal with Chinese government-controlled company, emails reveal. The revelation ties the president even closer to Hunter's overseas business dealings and makes his previous claims that he never discussed them with his son even less plausible. Joe was able to pay the bills after earning millions of dollars through his and his wife's companies after he left office as vice president. Some of the wave of cash came from their book deals and speaking engagements. For the book deals for the books that nobody bought. But the president's financial filings reveal that he declared almost $7 million more income on his tax returns than he did on his government transparency reports, an analysis by DailyMail.com of the president's financial records shows. Some of the difference can be accounted for with salaries earned by First Lady Jill Biden and other sums not required on his reports, but that still leaves $5.2 million earned by Joe's company not listed on his transparency reports. The missing millions, combined with emails on Hunter's abandoned laptop, suggest Joe would have a 10% share in Hunter's blockbuster deal with the Chinese, raising a troubling question: did Joe receive money from the foreign venture? Here is one of the emails here. Hello, VP team. This is from KTZed to Linda Shapiro, CC to Richard Ruffner and Robert Biden. Hello, VP team. I spoke with Hunter today regarding his bills. It's my understanding Hunter's dad will cover these bills in the short term as Hunter transitions in his career. I have a list of the current bills, of which I am aware. I have attached the list below. I'm sure we will need to go over all of this to make a smooth transition. Many I can log into and change bank accounts, or I can give the logins. At any rate, I wanted to get the ball rolling. Please let me know a convenient time for this call. That said, I'm traveling for the holiday weekend beginning tomorrow, and we'll be back at my home office on Tuesday. Also, as is understandable, I will no longer be working for Hunter after January 31st. I will, of course, remain in touch with if you have any further questions. Thank you. It's been a pleasure working with you both. I wish I had the chance to meet you in person. Best, KTZed. And then an attachment, a PDF here, Hunter's bills. In January 2019, Hunter's assistant KTZed wrote an email to bookkeeper Linda Shapiro and Biden aide Richard Ruffner saying Joe had agreed to pay his hundreds of thousands of dollars of bills. Yeah, we just read that email there. The assistant attached a spreadsheet of bills with an email totaling $737,130 US dollars and 61 US cents. One of the last items was $28,000 in legal fees for the restructuring of Hunter's joint venture with the government-controlled Bank of China. The spreadsheet listed the bill as Fager Banker Daniels BHR restructuring costing $28,000 and due ASAP. BHR, Bohai Harvest RST, is a private equity firm and one of Hunter's two major Chinese business ventures. The joint venture was co-owned by the state-controlled Bank of China. Hunter's personal attorney, George Masiris, is a partner. Excuse me. Hunter's personal attorney, George Masiris, is a partner at Fager Banker Daniels, which is now called Fager Drinker. A separate October 2018 invoice from the law firm shows that Hunter spent a total of $68,933 US dollars and 41 US cents on the restructuring beginning on September of 2016. The same year Joe took on these bills from Hunter, he promised that no one in my family will have an office in the White House, will sit in on meetings as if they are a cabinet member, and will in fact have any business relationship with anyone that relates to a foreign corporation or a foreign country. Yet, not only did Hunter hold on to his 10% share of BHR through 2021, confirmed by White House Press Secretary Red-Haired Bobblehead last February, the emails also indicate Joe knew about it and even agreed to pay Hunter's legal fees for the firm. The bills also include $412,309 US dollars and 23 US cents in unpaid taxes dating back to 2015. The New York Times reported earlier this month that Hunter had taken out $1 million loan to pay his delinquent tax bill in an apparent effort to stave off an alleged tax fraud prosecution. Wisconsin Republican Senator Ron Johnson, who along with Chuck Grassley is investigating Hunter's foreign business deals, said Biden's unaccounted for millions are another disturbing piece of information that raises questions that deserve answers. And yet, we are probably not going to get any of these answers. We're probably not going to see a word of this, and, well, completely honestly, it's a miracle that this even made it out to the Daily Mail, but Definitely a miracle. A Christmas miracle for the Bidens that this isn't on the front page of MSDNC, CNN, or even Fox. Let's look at some of the filings here. The math behind the missing $5.2 million. The president's financial filings show that he declared almost $7 million more income on his tax returns than he did on his government transparency reports, raising the questions on where did the extra cash come from. Joe Biden's Office of Government Ethics filings. 2017 to May of 2019 filing. Jill and Joe Biden, income of $8,699,787. Income attributable to Joe Biden's company, Celtic Capri Corp, $7,451,727. May of 2019 to 2020 filing, income of $900,160. Celtic Corp Capri income $613,737. Total $9,606,947, including $8,065,464 from Celtic Capri. Biden's federal tax returns. 2017 income of $31,309. Celtic Capri Corp income $9,636,690. 2018 income of $4,580,437. Celtic Capri Corp income $3,030,000. Wow, I keep missing the decimal on this one. $3,030,667. 2019 income of $985,233. Celtic Capri income $578,178. Total $16,596,979, including $13,245,535 from Celtic Capri. Tax return versus OGE difference $6,990,032. Unaccounted for difference from Celtic Capri $5,180,071. I know that was a lot of numbers. That was probably really boring, but I didn't want to get that up onto the record to show where the differences are coming from. A lot of money changing hands here. And a lot of questions a lot of people would have had if this had been, I think, a lot of other people in office, honestly. You know, how can a $400,000 employee be making all these millions unaccounted for? And why hasn't he divested from any of this? That's the other question. But we will see where that goes. We will see what happens off of that. But this is your everyman president, of course. The millionaires have to go pay their fair share, but I'm your everyman. We'll see. Probably not going to be a lot more life shed on this. From ABC News. Hopefully this will be a little bit more riveting than all those numbers. Vice President Kamala Harris has positive for COVID-19. She does not have any symptoms. From Emily Shapiro and Justin Gomez. Vice President Harris tested positive for the pinko pox via rapid and PCR tests on Tuesday, according to her office. Harris, who received her second booster on April 1st, didn't have any immediate symptoms, but her press secretary tweeted Tuesday evening that after consultation with her physicians, the vice president was prescribed and has taken Paxlovid. During an earlier briefing, Dr. Ashish Jha, the White House COVID response coordinator, was asked about the therapeutic and who qualifies. The FDA has laid out the criteria for who should get Paxlovid. Very basically, it's anyone at high risk of developing complications, he said. The FDA points to the CDC assessment. It's a long list. Age is important. Chronic diseases, the bottom line is that. What I'm recommending to family and friends is that if you get the pinko pox, see a provider and make that assessment with your provider. A lot more people are eligible than people think. The vice president, 57, will isolate and work from home, Allen said in a statement. She's not been in any close contact with the president or the first lady. Due to their respective recent travel schedules, the statement said she will follow CDC guidance and the advice of her physicians. The vice president will return to the White House when she tests negative. Harris and Biden were last seen together on April 18th at the White House Easter egg roll. So, with that being said, first and foremost, double boosted, double vaxxed, and I'm supposed to trust what these people say about getting the pinko pox? They can't even protect themselves from it. If, of course, you take this at face value. Now, of course, my next question is going to be, what rigorous travel schedule did she have going on there? What was it that she had to do that she maybe didn't want to go back and do? I think that's an important question. What was coming up for the vice president? I'm not saying there was foul play for this, but what was coming up for the vice president? What was it that she was going to be doing? Because we know that when red-haired bobblehead was about to go to Europe, both times actually she was about to go to Europe, she suddenly came down with a case of the convenience pinko pox. But there you go. We won't see the vice president for a couple weeks. Hooray! Alright, we got to talk gun control because this is going to be another one that they start talking about as we go into a more and more contested midterm. Shannon Watts tweets out, "This shooting at a children's baseball game in Charleston, South Carolina isn't an anomaly. This is America's new normal, enabled by greedy gun lobbyists and lawmaker allies. If they have their way, no one will be safe anymore." Shannon Watts has a blue checkmark and is founder of Mob's Demand, grassroots author of Everytown. So, of course, she's completely objective in this situation. Author of Fight Like a Mother, Boards, We Advance Peace, Emerge America, She, Her, Mizzou Made. Now, the fact that there was a shooting outside of a baseball game, and by the way, none of this was going after any of these kids, as Watts will try to have you believe in a tweet like this. This was a disagreement outside that should not have escalated into gunfire as far as I can tell. And it just happened to be caught on camera at the baseball game, so let's watch. So especially outside of a children's baseball game at night, that's a horrifying situation. I'm sure there were a lot of concerned parents. I mean, the batter went running for his parents, and did the catcher go too? Yeah, the pitcher. So yeah, I mean, the third base coach over there is down on the ground, and so is third baseman and shortstop, and they're all staying on the ground because I don't know that they can get to anybody that would have held them safety. But yeah, catcher, pitcher, they're all running back into off camera over here. I don't know what's going on with this camera person that's not running, if it's on a tripod or what's going on with that, but that's what we see off of that. Let's read from WIS 10 out of Columbia, South Carolina. Gunfire interrupts youth baseball game in South Carolina. From Patrick Phillips. A parent's video shows children ducking for cover Monday as gunfire erupted during a youth baseball game in North Charleston. Charleston police say they're actively investigating the shooting. Police spokesman Harvey Jacobs says police responded to the Pepper Hill Park in the 7600 block of Brandywine Road where gunshots have been reported. Warning, this video may contain disturbing content. Not really. Because nobody in this video, and now of course, when this video was filmed nobody knew of that, but as we found out later, nobody in this video was actually in danger. Witnesses indicated that multiple vehicles pulled into the parking lot where a physical altercation took place, followed by dozens of gunshots, Jacob said. Several youth baseball games were underway when this incident occurred. This incident tonight had nothing to do with the park, youth athletes, parents, or coaches. Thankfully, no injuries were reported. Which, as usual, raises more questions. Blake Ferguson was recording the game as his son was on the pitching mound at Pepper Hill Ball Field. Approximately 8:45 p.m., WCSC reports. His video captured the sounds of multiple shots, sending children and officials running for cover. He said he heard between 50 to 75 shots and believes gunfire happened in the parking lot. Lori Ferguson says she heard the booms and initially thought someone was setting off fireworks. Then all of a sudden, boom, boom, and get down, everybody get down. And you're at the park. My kids are not with me directly, and you just see everyone scattering, she said. And my son's on the pitcher mound by himself, and it was just the most traumatic thing as a mother, as a citizen of this city, that you just feel helpless. I feel completely helpless. After the shooting ended, Blake Ferguson said multiple parents' vehicles have been struck by gunfire. North Charleston police promised to investigate the incident to the fullest extent of the law and will do everything in their power to locate and arrest the individuals involved in this heinous and reckless act. We will leave no stone unturned in bringing these suspects to justice, Jacobs said. Assistant Chief Greg Gomez is shocked at the video and horrified at the events that took place, he said. He vehemently denounces this violence and is outraged at those responsible for putting so many innocent lives at danger, Jacobs said. Mayor Keith Summey also watched the video of the children on the field during the incident and was appalled by what he heard and saw, Jacobs said. Lori Ferguson said the police responded to the park to investigate where the shooting occurred, but said officers did not come onto the ball field to check on the families or escort them off the field. But no one ever came and checked on, like, hey, are the kids okay, she said. The incident, she said, left the children shaken even after they were back home. Of course it did. There was random gunfire going off at a baseball game. You don't get that kind of thing unless you're in inner city Chicago. Usually. Now, I understand we could walk down the street, something could happen. We could be at church, something could happen. 100% understand that, she said. My kids asked me where the police were to protect them. They didn't want to take a shower in our own home because they're traumatized by what happened last night. Oh my. Police plan to meet Tuesday morning with the city recreation staff to formulate a safety plan to ensure that our city's youth can feel safe when playing in our parks and playgrounds, Jacob said. I have questions. First off, let's go back and listen to that once again. Because that was a lot of gunfire. That was a very large amount of gunfire for nobody to get hurt. Like, there would have been somebody in the hospital somewhere that would have shown up with a gunshot wound. Statistically, if there was an altercation, there was that much shooting going on. So they can't cross-check hospital records and say, hey, person B came in with a gunshot wound. So either we're sitting here watching this, and this is a bunch of stormtroopers sitting out here in the parking lot that can't hit anything, or I hate to say it, but this could be staged to come back out to get us down into a narrative and say gun control. It's these same ones over and over again that we start to see. Nobody was killed. Nobody was killed. Nobody was even injured. Hey, we got this guy, and everybody else is describing a completely different kind of guy who shot into a crowded subway and nobody was killed. Hey, we got this guy, and he happened to kill himself as we were approaching his apartment, and nobody was killed. Hey, we have no idea who did all the shooting, but hey, nobody was injured. I have questions. I'm not saying that there was malicious intent. I'm saying I have questions. And I think a lot of people should have a lot more questions. Especially since this was picked up so quickly by Everytown. And I like this one, of course. Somebody had to go up, put this out here. Repeaters result in mass injuries and deaths. We must update our gun laws. Writing, back when the Founding Fathers wrote the Second Amendment, guns fired 1 to 3 rounds per minute. Today's AR-15 rifle fires 45 to 60 rounds per minute. Maybe it's time we stop using 18th century laws to regulate 21st century weapons. Well, unless you wrote that with a quill, your argument is invalid. Let's keep going. Let's grab one from ABC4. Coroner identifies 16 and 19-year-old killed in North Charleston shooting over the weekend. From Bailey Wright. I don't know if this is related. Let me actually look, because I want to see where this is. Pepper Hill Ball Field. So let's grab some maps. Slow some music back up. That is on Brandywine Road in North Charleston, South Carolina. There you go, Pepper Hill Park. And this is telling me this is at 2264 Bailey Drive. Bailey Drive. Okay, so from looking at this, I don't actually believe this is anywhere close to where this happened. Because from what I'm seeing off these two maps here, this is on the other side of Highway 26 from where this. So this might be a completely separate incident. It appears. But we've got Kayshawn Jones, 16 in North Charleston, died on April 24th at approximately 1:12 a.m. on scene at 2264 Bailey Drive for multiple gunshot wounds, according to the coroner. Yeah, this is from earlier on. Because this is from last night. This is from Monday night, which was the 25th. And this story is from the 24th. Elijah Jefferson, 19, of North Charleston, was transported to Medical University of South Carolina, where he died at 1:41 a.m. from multiple gunshot wounds. The North Charleston Police Department is investigating. So I picked this up. I was looking into this. I thought this was the same incident. This is not the same incident. But we do have some lawmakers' reactions to this coming from WBTW 13, CBS out of South Carolina. South Carolina lawmakers react to video of shooting near youth baseball game in North Charleston from Jason Raven. State lawmakers say they were shocked by video that shows youth baseball players and coaches in South Carolina ducking for cover while shots rang out nearby. According to the North Charleston Police Department, the incident happened in a parking lot near Pepper Hill Park shortly before 8:45 p.m. on Monday. Police said the altercation between two groups led to dozens of shots being fired. Meanwhile, several youth baseball games were underway at the fields at Pepper Hill Park. Representative Marvin Pendarvis represents the district where the shooting was reported. He said he was shocked and disappointed by what happened. At the end of the day, no one wants to be at a ball game and have to witness gunshots like that, he said on Tuesday. According to Pendarvis, the city of North Charleston has seen a string of gun violence, and the problems need to be addressed. Yes, as we just saw, we had a completely unrelated incident on the other side of Interstate 26. He said we need to eradicate it somehow. It's a public health issue. The sooner we treat it as a public health issue and we try to address it at its root cause, the sooner we'll get to coming up with comprehensive solutions to address it. Pendarvis said keeping guns out of the hands of people who shouldn't have them needs to be a priority. We know what measures we can take to reduce shootings and save lives, he said. We know that universal background checks make gun transactions safer and reduce the chances of gun falling into the wrong hands, because all of these criminals that go and use guns absolutely follow every law that's presented to them. But we do nothing to act on it. A bill to close the Charleston loophole has sat stagnant in the legislature for years. House Judiciary Chairman Chris Murphy of Dorchester agrees that people having weapons illegally is part of the problem. He said state lawmakers need to do everything they can to support law enforcement. So that is what we're going to do off of this. And I mean, yeah, I see Vampire Hunter D says the same thing. No shells, no prints, 75 rounds. Yeah, I have a lot of questions. I have a lot of questions about this. Nobody showed up in the hospital. Nobody showed up at the morgue. Nobody saw any of the people out there in the parking lot. Nobody knows where they went. Do we have casings? They don't say anything about that. We do see bullet holes in the side of a car, so we know they weren't shooting blanks off out there, but like, yeah, I have a lot of questions about this. But for now, this is going to go unanswered. We will see what happens with this, and we will follow up on this if there is something that needs to be followed up on. From WSOC TV. Now, this article has been updated. At the time that I pulled this article yesterday morning, the allegation was that their TSA had not confirmed that this was Cawthorn. They have now confirmed this was Cawthorn. CMPD Rep. Madison Cawthorn cited for having a gun at Charlotte Douglas Airport. Madison Cawthorn was cited for having a gun at Charlotte Douglas International Airport Tuesday morning, police said. According to TSA, a 9mm handgun was discovered in a bag at a checkpoint D, and TSA officials contacted Charlotte Mecklenburg police. A photo obtained by Channel 9 shows that a loaded Staccato C2 was recovered at the airport Tuesday. Officers confirmed the gun was Cawthorn's and said he cooperated with police. Cawthorn was cited for possession of a dangerous weapon on city property, which is a City of Charlotte ordinance. CMPD said it took the firearm, which is a normal procedure. This is not the first time a gun has been discovered on Cawthorn at an airport. In February 2021, TSA found a 9mm at Cawthorn's carry-on bag at Asheville Regional Airport. Cawthorn did not face any criminal charges for the incident. Channel 9's John Paul talked to experts on why Cawthorn was cited and not arrested. I think that's a normal question for the average citizen to ask. Should a member of Congress who took a weapon, now the second time that we know of, that we have known he's taken a weapon to an airport, have been arrested? Dude, you don't always get arrested. Hell, you barely get a fine, to my experience. Now, to have it done twice, yeah, I would say that, yeah, get the guy a fine. If he's broken the law and he knows about what the law is. We've all known about what the law is for a while. If you do it twice, possibly a fine, but, the first time they typically just take your gun away from you and send you on your way. The Constitution talks about situations like this, specifically Article 1, Section 6, Clause 1. Regarding members of Congress, it says, they shall in all cases, except treason, felony, and breach of the peace, be privileged from arrest during their attendance at the session. I think certainly if he presented himself as a member of Congress and indicated that he was on his way to legislative business, particularly votes on the House floor, I think individuals such as Charles Douglas probably would have erred on the side of caution in this regard. Bitzer said. CMPD has discredited these cases and says that most times they don't arrest the person unless there are other related felony charges or extenuating circumstances. An aviation security expert told Paul that law enforcement generally only arrests people acting suspiciously or caught in a lie. Paul asked if he agreed with people saying Cawthorn is being treated differently because of who he is. Well, honestly, and again, with my experience in this particular situation, I think that they're coming down harder on him. Yes, they are treating him differently because of who he is, but they're coming down harder on him. Typically, if you get caught going through TSA, if you do get a fine at all, you got a fine. And somebody at TSA got a shiny new gun. If you get caught with something like that. Now, if it's very clear that you're looking in there to go and be malicious and massacre somebody, that's a different story entirely. At that point, you're usually taken into a small room and you're never seen again. But typically, if it's clearly an accident, they got it, which they'll x-ray you, they'll go through your laptop, they'll go touch everything that you have on you. It's really, really hard for that accident to happen as far as I understand, but if it does happen, somebody's getting a shiny new piece with legally dubiously questionable serial numbers on it. Or at least how the serial numbers got associated with the person who now owns it. But other than that, no, he just walked out with a fine and went back upon his work. But of course, they can't let that end at that here. From CNN, Madison Cawthorn cited for loaded handgun found at TSA checkpoint. From Diane Gallagher. Madison Cawthorn, North Carolina, was cited for bringing a loaded handgun through Transportation Security Administration checkpoint at the Charlotte Douglas International Airport, authorities said. The loaded staccato C2 9mm handgun was discovered at Checkpoint D shortly before 9 a.m. Eastern Time, according to TSA. Mr. Cawthorn stated the firearm was his and he was cooperated with CMPD officers, according to a statement, by the Charlotte-Mecklenburg Police Department. So, again, my first question is who in TSA just got a brand new, shiny C2 9mm handgun with legally dubious transfer of ownership paperwork? Cawthorn did not respond to a request for comment from CNN. What it's looking like for this, too, as we're seeing, it doesn't even look like TSA tried to get him on some sort of felony thing. He got the citation for possession on city property. So he got it for a local ordinance. They didn't even get him for what would have normally been a felony. But of course, because it's Madison Cawthorn, they want to try to get him on everything because we got to try and keep him from running. And that's what we see coming off of that. From ABC, I think this is just a review, but that's what he had. A staccato. It was later released and the CMPD took possession of the firearm, which is normal procedure, police said. So maybe it was the local police that got a shiny new 9mm. And let's move on off of that. From Reuters. Russia warns Poland of gas supply cuts on Wednesday. From Marek Strazelecki? Is that how we want to do that one? Yeah, let's do Strazelecki. Russian energy giant Gazprom has told Poland's PGNiG. That'd be one to go put on Twitter right now. PGNiG. It will halt gas supplies from Wednesday morning, the Polish state-controlled oil and gas company said in a statement on Tuesday, in a major escalation of Russia's broader row with the West over the invasion of Ukraine. Poland would be the first country to have its gas cut off by Europe's main supplier since Moscow started what it calls military operation in Ukraine on February 24th. The move to cut off supplies also followed sanctions imposed by Warsaw against Russian individuals and companies. Vladimir Putin has demanded that countries he terms unfriendly agree to implement a scheme under which they could open accounts at Gazprom Bank and make payments for Russian gas imports in euros or dollars, and that would be converted into rubles following what Moscow calls a special military operation in Ukraine. He had threatened to cut gas supplies in case the demands would not be fully met. Poland, a staunch Moscow political opponent, whose gas deal with Russia expires at the end of this year, has said it would not comply with the new scheme of gas payments. It has also said it would not extend the contract. It also did not extend its gas transit deal with Gazprom in 2020. Since then, the Russian gas provider had to take part in its auctions for pipeline capacity via the Yamal-Europe pipeline from Belarus to Poland. Now, my first question here is going to be, does this affect Belarus? Can Belarus turn around and go back and sell? Now my question there, Belarus of course being a sovereign country, but being a very, very close ally to Russia, in fact, being the staging point for most of the attacks in Ukraine that went down to Kiev. Let's see. Poland's gas supply contract with Gazprom is for 10.2 billion cubic meters per year and covers about 50% of national consumption. Earlier data from European Union network of gas transmission operators showed physical gas flows via the Yamal-Europe route had halted, but they resumed later on Tuesday. Poland's energy supplies are secure, Poland's climate ministry said on Tuesday, adding that there was no need to draw from gas reserves and that gas to consumers would not be cut. With gas storage of 3.5 billion cubic meters, 76% filled, and as several alternative supply routes are available, Poland will not have to cut supplies to customers to cope with Gazprom's supply halt, government officials said. So it does look like they have their ducks in a row as far as making sure that their citizens stay warm. I'll just see what the weather is in Warsaw. And I'm guessing now, just by looking at this, there are probably some people who are thinking to themselves, okay, well, let's go start thinking about this, because the temperature is dipping down, and thank you, Google, for changing this out into Fahrenheit. We can look at it in Celsius, of course, but looking at this in the standard temperature measure that we usually see, as they dip down to the night hours, we could see down into 41, but it's getting relatively warm there right now. And will be throughout the week, so we're not in dire straits as far as our Polish friends, but definitely something to pay attention to as well. So we'll see what happens with that and where that goes. And of course, cooking gas is going to be an issue with that too, so something else to watch and see as we go with that. Russia will shut off gas supplies to Poland and Bulgaria. From Sugam Pokarelli. And it looks like CNN has a map for us. So let's have a look and see what we have going on here.
Russia is one of the world's top producers of oil and natural gas. Energy exports are the lifeblood of the Russian economy, so much so that John McCain once said,
"Russia is a gas station masquerading as a country."
And with its vast network of pipelines connecting it to its neighbours, Russia can exert significant influence outside of its borders.
My name is Noah Brenner. I'm the Eastern Hemisphere Editorial Director for Energy Intelligence. We cover all aspects of energy, as well as energy policy and geopolitics. Russia's traditional oil and gas producing areas are here in western Siberia, and then we see an array of pipeline connections moving across western Russia into eastern, central, and eventually onto western Europe.
One of those pipelines, Nord Stream 1, can deliver 55 billion cubic meters of gas to the EU every year.
Nord Stream 2 would have doubled the amount of gas that Russia was moving into Germany. Now, of course, that made Western partners, particularly the United States, nervous because they saw it as locking in a role and a demand for Russian gas in Germany, but also for Russia within the energy policy and the geopolitical sphere of Europe.
In response to the Russian invasion of Ukraine, Nord Stream 2 has been halted.
Und ohne diese Zertifizierung kann Nord Stream 2 ja nicht in Betrieb gehen.
But Europe isn't the only market for Russian energy.
Oil demand and gas demand in Europe generally have been thought to have peaked. And so the future for Russia and the future for Russia's energy trade is towards Asia and towards China in particular.
In Russia's far east lie another set of gas fields. They're connected to China via a pipeline called the Power of Siberia. In 2019, China's state media reported that by 2024, the pipeline would deliver 38 billion cubic meters of gas every year.
Russia has proposals on the table to build a second one, known as the Power of Siberia 2. But this alliance between Russia and China can be seen as another way that Russia is able to leverage its oil and gas supplies globally to create influence beyond what might be possible were it not.
So, and they're trying to tell us that when they talk about things like this that, no, well, Europe was getting ready to go back and push Russia to the curb because they're going to alternative energy sources and this and... Look, and I don't necessarily buy all of that. I know that there is some level of what's going on with that. There was a puff piece that I saw years ago where I was to the understanding that Germany had become a net energy exporter because they were using so much of their recycled, like they were recycling so much. They were using so much of their trash that they were making energy off of trash, essentially. So they had electricity to spare, but electricity it's not always going to be what keeps you warm. You can only have so many space heaters. But that is what we see coming from that. Let's read just a little bit more back off of this. This is going to be mostly review, though. Poland's state-run gas firm, PGNiG, said it will entirely suspend gas supplies from along the Yamal pipeline starting Wednesday morning. PGNiG said in a statement on Tuesday. On April 26, Gazprom informed PGNiG of its intention to entirely suspend deliveries under the Yamal contract. At the beginning of the contract and April 27th, the statement reads, which is today. The news sent U.S. natural gas futures up 3% on Tuesday, which is all fine and good. And I do think that some of this is what was pushing some of the futures back up now that I see this and where we're expected off of this. But do keep in mind that in order for natural gas to get over to Poland, it's got to go by ship. So do keep in mind that there is a delay and there's going to be some service days between what Poland has either in its reserves or what it is still getting off the Russian pipeline, whatever it's getting left off of that, then, well, what it gets from here. So that's what we see for that. Hey, let's go talk about some more Elon stuff. Now, I thought I had this clip queued up for yesterday. Apparently I didn't. But Stelter. has got something to say, and he's got a question for you guys. If you were to go to this hypothetical party where there were no rules, would you go there? Or would you just fade away? Let's listen.
Look, who knows? I think that's an example of a broader question for Twitter, which is, if you get invited to something where there are no rules, where there is total freedom for everybody, do you actually want to go to that party? Or are you going to decide to stay home? And that's a question for Twitter users. Some Twitter users might love the idea that there's going to be absolutely no moderation and no rules at all. Others might not want to be anywhere near that. Am I crazy, Matt?
No, you're right. And what happens to the advertising? I mean, if there's no moderation or little moderation, do the advertisers stay away? What does that do to the business prospects for Twitter itself?
I think that's very much look, who knows?
Now, I was the understanding, of course, and, this may change somewhere in the near future, that we were not going to have advertising on Twitter anymore because the fact that they can threaten to go pull out and pull the money back away when Elon took it private meant that the advertisers would have a say over who is silenced and who isn't. But I'm going to tell you right now, Stelter, you're wrong. And you would think that you have gained some wisdom for all the years that you look like you have on me, in spite of the fact that I am 2 years older than you are. No, if there is a party with no rules, I'll go. Hell yeah. In fact, if I'm told in the beginning somewhere out there, like, hey, we want you to come to this party here, but you've got to do this and this and this and this, I'll probably look back at that and say, you know what? Thinking I'm going to go home and I'm going to play Fallout 4 and maybe I'll stream it. Maybe your party goers will watch me on stream instead of going to your dumbass party. So there is that. From the Daily Wire, Twitter releases official agreement with Musk. It includes option to terminate sale on certain scenarios. From Ryan Saavedra. Twitter's official agreement to be acquired by Elon Musk was disclosed in a Securities Exchange Commission filing Tuesday afternoon, which includes an option for the company to terminate the sale for a more lucrative proposal. So basically right now, according to the terms of the agreement, if somebody else can go back and say, oh yeah, we'll totally go buy that for way more money, then Twitter can walk away, which means I'm sure that the leptoids are going to go start begging their newfound fandoms over at BlackRock, Vanguard, etc. Like, hey, just go buy Twitter, okay? Save us from the evil freedom of speech man. Twitter's board of directors unanimously approved on Monday a $44 billion definitive agreement to be acquired by Musk, in which Musk will pay $54.20 per share to take control of the company. The deal disclosed in the SEC filing states that the deal may be terminated by either side if it's not been completed by October 24th, or if Twitter shareholders fail to adopt the merger agreement. Twitter may terminate the merger agreement in certain additional limited circumstances, including to allow Twitter to enter into a definitive agreement for a competing acquisition proposal that constitutes a superior proposal. The filing adds, parent may terminate the merger agreement in certain additional limited circumstances, including prior to the adoption of the merger agreement by Twitter stockholders, if the board recommends that Twitter stockholders vote against the adopting of a merger agreement or in favor of any competing acquisition proposal. Something tells me they have a plan. If either side terminates the agreement, they may have to pay $1 billion termination fee to the other side, depending on the situation, including if Musk were to fail to secure enough debt funding to complete the $44 billion sale. Which is where they're going over on Twitter saying, oh my god, well, if we can take Tesla, then we can save Twitter. Twitter would owe Musk $1 billion if entered a definitive agreement for a competing acquisition proposal that constitutes a superior proposal, or two-parent terminates the merger agreement because the board recommends that Twitter stockholders vote against the adoption of the merger agreement or in favor of any competing acquisition proposal. So, if they turn tail and run, Elon gets $1 billion. That unfortunately I don't think that the board has. Musk weighed in on Tuesday afternoon to the political left's outrage over his offer to buy Twitter being accepted by saying that the visceral reaction of those angered by free speech was telling. And it is. It is very telling. These people don't want to have somebody come in and interrupt their echo chamber because, hey, some of their people might hear a competing idea and get their minds changed. Now, we have the full 40-minute video coming from Veritas about the meeting. Of course, we're not going to sit down and watch the entire 40-minute video, but we're going to grab some of the clips out of this. We're just going to kind of jump around in this video here to see. But this is the raw audio of the all-hands call on April 25th, when the announcement was made that Elon was taking Twitter. So let's grab some of this here.
And I'm sure you're still processing it. The focus of this all hands is you. I know many of you want to know what has happened and what's next. And I want to answer all of your questions. That is what this all hands is all about. And we have a lot to cover.
I don't know why I didn't think that Agarwal would have an accent, but man, does he have an accent.
To start, I've seen many questions that talk about the process that got us to this point. So that's where we'll begin. I want to hand it off to Brett, the chairman of our board, to speak to you all directly about how we reached today's announcement. Brett.
Thank you, Parag.
Once the deal closes, your RSUs as compensation
To do it on our schedule to make sure we're protecting all shareholders.
About work from home, questions about our benefits, questions about folks who have visas. Can you just explain and give some context to like that whole host of questions that people have on their minds?
Absolutely. Thanks for the questions.
And how you think about it.
I don't know specifically what the questions are.
Plan on dealing with a mass exodus, considering the acquisition is by a person with questionable ethics. Also, how much input, given background, did Jack have on this?
So I'll start with the Jack question. Jack is a member of the Twitter board, and it was a unanimous vote. Beyond that, we can't speculate beyond what was stated in the press release, and I'm sure Jack will share his own feelings over time as he deems appropriate. And I don't want to speak on his behalf. As it relates to the question of attrition, as Parag stated, one of the themes of today is continuity and ensuring questions. But just like not only we're a public company, we're a Delaware public company, and that dictates our governance. There will be a new structure in this place, and it doesn't change the broad regulatory structure in which Twitter operates, but certainly
AI and Twitter apps.
Not sure I can speak on Elon's behalf on that front. Years through the pandemic, through the current.
So this is not as, as major as they made it out to be. But if you guys do want to listen to this full 45-minute call, I did just link it in the chat and the Discord if you guys want to go check that out. So that's what we have from that. Let's keep going. Breaking audio from internal Twitter meeting linked by Project Veritas. Linking to the Post Millennial, which also has this video, by the way. Breaking audio from internal Twitter meeting leaked by Project Veritas. From Nick Monroe. Internal audio of Monday's Twitter meeting leaked to Project Veritas reveals that leadership is fully cognizant of the free speech agenda that new owner Elon Musk wants to bring to the table. Veritas obtained a 45-minute recording of a company-wide call during which Twitter employees questioned board member Brett Taylor and CEO Parag Agrawal about the company's direction following Elon's purchase of the social media platform. Is this a shorter version of this?
Elon made it clear in public that a large part of the reason he bought the platform was because of our moderation policies and disagreements in how we deal with health. This puts Twitter service and trust and safety, as well as anybody who cares about health on the platform, in a very difficult position.
I believe Twitter grows as a service, allows for more people to use the product and have a better experience because we're able to make the conversation on Twitter be safe, because we have built tools, processes for people to be able to feel safe and control their experiences. I believe that there is a lot of work we have to do to continue making that better. Sometimes that means...
I'm sorry, I can't. I keep waiting for him to say, thank you, come again.
Means more thoughtful moderation. Sometimes that means making things simpler. Sometimes that means changing product incentives to be able to solve problems through products sometimes instead of policies.
So there it is, and they're pissed off that the narrative is being taken away from them. Taylor began by saying, I also want to acknowledge that all emotions of today, it's an emotional day, and I want to acknowledge it. By law, we are required to act in the best interest of our shareholders. Agrawal echoed the sentiments and said, it's important to acknowledge that all of you have many different feelings about what is happening. Thank you. Come again. I'm going to hell for that. Wow. He continued, many of you are concerned, some are excited. Many are waiting to understand how this goes and have an open mind. Agrawal added the company's current content moderation policies are fundamental to keeping Twitter safe and growing. By leaving you back in an echo chamber. We'll be finding a way to have Elon talk with all of you at the soonest possible opportunity. As you've heard from all of us, we don't have all the answers. So, again, the video is linked in the chat and in the Discord if you guys want to go listen to the thing. I'm sure the whole thing is telling. I have not listened to the whole thing yet, but from this, Twitter's top lawyer cried during meeting about Elon Musk buyout, according to a report from Tim Meads. Leftist tears, going to the Tumblr, of course, because this is the Daily Wire, were literally flowing at Twitter headquarters on Monday after Elon's offer to buy the social media platform was accepted, as one high-ranking employee reportedly broke down and cried during a staff meeting about the purchase. On Tuesday, Politico reported that Twitter's top lawyer, Vijaya Gadi, called a virtual meeting among policy and legal teams that she oversees to discuss how Musk would impact the company. Is that the JJ that was on Rogan with Tim Pool, by the way? Gotti cried during the meeting as she expressed concerns about how the company could change. According to three people familiar with the meeting, Politico reported she acknowledged that there are significant uncertainties about what the company will look like under Musk leadership. Politico also noted that Gotti, who has worked with Twitter since 2011, is the key executive charged with overseeing Twitter's trust and safety legal and public policy functions. The attorney is apparently so well respected within the community that she is seen internally as Twitter's moral authority. Oh. Wow. She's the moral authority? This lady? If it's the same person I'm thinking of, this lady is the moral authority? You know, and that, I mean, Poole had a point when he was making the conversation, talking with Rogan and Dorsey and Vijaya here, you know. How come if I take a selfie and post it to Twitter saying, where all the honey's at, there are no women in my DMs? that might have been the Freedom Tunes version of it. The transaction was unanimously approved by Twitter's board and is expected to close this year, subject to the approval of Twitter shareholders and other regulatory approvals, the Daily Wire added. Look, I understand you putting a vast deal of work into a platform to have the rug pulled back out under from you, but to try to take this as some sort of moral offering, you guys might want to sit the moral authority out for this off. But the Babylon Bee actually has leaked video and audio from one of the therapy sessions over Elon Musk's takeover. So let's, I think this is going to be pretty telling. So let's see what this leaked therapy is. Thank you to the Babylon Bee for that.
Dr. Pollen, I'm your 2 o'clock.
Oh, hey, Mandy. Have a seat. What can I do for you?
It's terrible. I can't even. I have literally lost my ability to even.
Whoa, let's calm down. What was it? Some sort of tragic loss? Death in the family? No one misgendered you, did they?
No, it's even worse. Elon Musk wants to buy our company.
All right, another one. All right, just tell me, what is it about Elon buying Twitter that actually bothers you? And remember, this is a safe space. There's no judgment here.
If he buys our free speech platform, people will be able to have free speech on our platform.
Well, that's just stupid. All right, let's get to the bottom of this. Let's go a little bit deeper. What exactly bothers you about somebody having free speech on our free speech platform?
If we don't have the unilateral power to ban ideas we don't like, we'd actually have to discuss and defend our ideas based on their own merit.
And what's the problem with that?
It's just...
It was pointed out on Porch Boys last night that this is obviously satire because none of the people at Twitter actually have this level of self-awareness.
Everyone who disagrees with me is a Nazi. So it's imperative that I change their mind with force and violence.
Very interesting. Let's try something else. I'm gonna hold up some shapes and I want you to tell me exactly what you see.
Nazis, Nazis, Nazis. That one kind of looks like a lip. Nazis, Nazis, Adolf Hitler, Nazis. Oh, I know that one. It's the Hindu symbol for peace. Namaste. Nazis, Nazis. Donald Trump. No, wait, it's still Nazis.
Fascinating. Now, I'm gonna ask you a question. I want you to answer honestly. Is Elon in the room with us right now?
Yes, I see him at work. I see him at Whole Foods. I see him when I get into my Tesla. He's everywhere.
All right, whatever. Next.
Hey, Doc. Why do you have these pictures of my mom?
Hey.
I like that. That was good. What else do we have here? From Politico. Twitter's top lawyer reassures staff and cries during meeting about Musk takeover. I think this might just be a review, but let's look at this here. Monday was an emotional day at Twitter, even for its executives. Shortly after Elon Musk bought the powerful social media platform, top Twitter lawyer Vijaya Gandhi called a virtual meeting with the policy and legal teams she oversees to discuss what the new ownership could mean for them. Gandhi cried during the meeting as she expressed concerns about how the company could change, according to 3 people. Familiar with the meeting, she acknowledged that there are significant uncertainties about what the company will look like under Musk's leadership. Twitter spokesperson Trenton Kennedy said Gandhi had become emotional when discussing her team's impact and the pride that she feels in them. Sources confirmed that she spoke at length about how she's proud of the work her team has done and offered employees encouragement, urging them to keep striving to do good work at the company. Gotti, who has worked at Twitter since 2011, is a key executive charged with overseeing Twitter's trust and safety, legal and public policy functions. She is seen internally as Twitter's moral authority. Yeah, this is all a review here. She shepherded Twitter through some of the most contentious political battles, including decisions to remove all political advertising and to boot the former president from the platform in the wake of the Selfie Fest. A position that has earned her devoted fans within Twitter, as well as a large contingent of right-wing critics. I don't think a lot of right-wing critics know really who she is, I'm not going to lie. What else do we have? Another one from the Daily Wire. Might have to refresh this one because there's supposed to be video. Democratic senator demands algorithmic justice in the wake of Elon Musk's Twitter takeover. Ed Markey of Massachusetts demanded algorithmic justice in the wake of billionaire Musk's successful bid to take control of Twitter. Markey argued that having a handful of billionaires in control of a major social media platform, like we already have, like Twitter and Facebook and Instagram, was an unacceptable scenario and called on Congress to act to restrain them. Elon Musk and a handful of billionaires now have a dangerous influence over the most powerful online platforms. We can't be trusted. And self-regulation has failed. We must pass laws to protect privacy and promote algorithmic justice for internet users, especially for kids. Because if they have a free speech platform they can go to, we might not be able to indoctrinate them. And Dan Bishop says, but 2 days ago, this influence from billionaires was fine. MSDNC host Ari Melber had a similar reaction during his Monday broadcast, asking what could stop Twitter under Elon Musk from stifling certain voices and amplifying others, particularly in an effort to drive certain political outcomes. And we watched that video yesterday. If you own a Twitter or Facebook or what have you, you don't have to explain yourself. You don't even have to be transparent. You could stifle voices. You could suppress people while raising up other people in an amazing moment of self-clarity. Let's talk about Rogan. Rogan responds to Elon buying Twitter. That's fucking amazing. From Carlos Garcia. Podcast superstar Joe Rogan was recording an interview of his podcast when he reacted to the news that billionaire entrepreneur Elon Musk had successfully purchased Twitter. Oh shit! Oh shit! Elon just bought Twitter! Rogan said during an interview with comedian Jesse Kursan. If I remember correctly, there's video on this. Yes. Joe reacts to Elon buying Twitter.
The Joe Rogan Experience.
And this is where we find ourselves with Elon Musk about to buy Twitter.
Yeah, I saw that.
Apparently it's going down.
It happened.
Oh, shit!
What?
Oh, shit!
The press release has been announced.
Elon Musk just bought Twitter. We got a movie star type of a superhero. It's like a movie. Like if you had a movie and there was a guy who was like a hero in the movie who happened to be a billionaire, does wild shit, like makes his own rockets and drills under the city and electric cars and then buys Twitter.
Insane.
Elon Musk agrees to buy Twitter in a $44 billion deal. Agreement to take social media network private marks the close of dramatic courtship. Here's why that's going to be interesting.
Yeah, tell me. I need to hear what you think.
He believes that free speech is important, and not just important, vital for a democracy, for a functioning democracy. And I agree with that. And what's interesting about this is we found out some things about Twitter, and one of the things they do is shadow ban people. So they make it so that your content, whatever you put out, has less impact. It has less engagement. They limit your ability to express yourself. They ban accounts, and they ban accounts if the account says something that they don't agree with. If the account says something that violates what they believe.
Mm-hmm.
Also, this ability to shadow ban people has to be exposed.
Right. That happens on TikTok. Do you remember that clip you just saw?
Yes.
Where I said I should be, it was about me and my body and how I felt.
Yeah.
It was taken down and I was put on probation.
Well, TikTok is rough with that.
It's the roughest.
Yeah. Well, I think they don't want anything that interrupts ad revenue and anything that gets them.
Can someone buy TikTok and please
maybe
help
you want to
with
buy
that?
TikTok next.
Jesus.
But maybe the Chinese won't sell. Maybe if they sell it, it'll be like one of them deals like you think you bought it, but there's nothing in it.
I doubt someone's going to sell it. They're not going to sell TikTok. They're really the worst. They're the...
TikTok's the worst.
I like that. That was funny. Maybe one of those fucking deals where you'll buy it and there'll be nothing in it. I like some of the meltdowns over here. I was looking over to the other side over here, looking over at Twitter because I had a notification pop up, and this is what came up to the top. Mega doesn't buy Teslas, but we do, but we shouldn't anymore because he's got to make it all about MAGA. This has got to all be about Trump, and I mean you'll notice where they're going with a lot of this when they do make the complaints about this. He might bring Trump back on the platform. That is their biggest fear. Out of anything else, that is their biggest fear, is to have a public official that they don't like have the ability to go back and talk directly to the people and not have it filtered through the mainstream news. That is the biggest fear that they have. All right, what else do we have? I know that we are up on the clock here and we still have to do something I'm thankful for, but let's see if we can get through a couple more of these. Tim Pool got in the news this past week because he bought a billboard. Tim Pool did. Tim Pool. The Washington Post and Taylor Lorenz docked at Libs of TikTok. They included a link to private work details and an address listed as the Libs' private home. They lied about it, so I got an ad in Times Square calling them out. Thanks, Jeremy D. Boring, for the assist. I'm always entertained by the fact that Tim never thanks Vice for all the money that he gets from them. He'll go out and thank Daily Wire, other missing link media, but he won't name his current benefactor, ever. But here's the billboard. And of course, it's got to say @TimCast on the side. Because why wouldn't it? From Reuters. Harvard set up $100 million endowment fund for slavery reparations. From Michela Moscufo. Harvard University is setting aside $100 million for an endowment fund and other measures to close the educational, social, and economic gaps that are legacies of slavery and racism, according to an email the university's president sent to all students, faculty, and staff on Tuesday. The email from Harvard president Lawrence Bacow, which sounds oddly and weirdly like Dachau, but we'll leave that alone for now, included a link to a 100-page report by his university's 14-member Committee on Harvard and the Legacy of Slavery. The panel was chaired by Tamika Brown Nagin, a legal historian and constitutional law expert, who's dean of Harvard's Interdisciplinary Radcliffe Institute for Advanced Study. The email and report were released to Reuters. The move comes amid a wider conversation about redressing the impacts of centuries of slavery, discrimination, and racism. Some people have called for financial and other reparations. The report laid out a history of slaves totaling toiling on the campus and of the university, benefiting from the slave trade and industries linked to slavery after slavery was outlawed in Massachusetts in 1783, 147 years after Harvard's founding. The report also documents Harvard's excluding black students and its scholars from advocating racism. So they have found a way to virtue signal and also take money from rich donors. And let's be completely honest, they're going to give it to other rich donors. Reparations, they say. 100,000, was it 100,000? 100 million. 100 million. $100 million from tuition and rich donors. Going and giving it away. Who are they giving it away to? That's the end of this that I want to see. Where is this going to? Do they tell us where this is going? No, they tell us why they're doing it. They don't tell us who the beneficiary is going to be. No information on who the beneficiary is going to be. Just, this is why we're doing it. Guessing that money's getting lost somewhere. Lightspeed 069 tweets out, brainwashed masker threatens an employee for not wearing a mask.
On board.
It started.
Thank you. Thank you.
Oh my goodness!
Stop. Get away. I'll walk you here. You're threatening my life. You don't need to do that. You don't need to do this. I'm not calling cops on you. Yeah.
Should they stop them?
Stay away, sir. Stay away. I'm not getting near you. You're unmasked. Is that pepper spray? Yes. Okay. Sir, I need you to put that away. We're in a public place right now. Yep. You stay away. I'm going to stay away. Thank you. You can't be threatening people here with pepper spray, okay? You understand that?
Pepper spray?
No, you cannot threaten people in here with pepper spray. You're not a cop. You're not a lawyer. I don't need this.
Oh, no.
Soup on board.
From what I understand about Costco has like a zero tolerance policy for violence in their stores. So this guy probably doesn't have a membership anymore. But further going on, you know, this is another example of how all those anti-mask people are going to start bullying people who have their masks on. And I do have to question again why this particular person was targeted. Well, we have gentlemen behind him walking around pushing a cart like normal. I would like to see context of what led up to this. I do want to see where this started, but I mean, when we first joined this, we have gentlemen here in a mask pointing pepper spray at employee with the only qualifier being, you're not wearing a mask. From Fox Business. The Great American Pay Cut. Here are 5 things you're paying more for thanks to inflation. From Houston Keene. Inflation has soared during President Biden's time in office, leaving many Americans paying more for essential items. Hey, look, man, I did that! Inflation rose to 8.54% in March from 7.5% in February. Having skyrocketed throughout Biden's first year in office, economists have pointed to Biden's signature multi-trillion-dollar spending package as one of the drivers of inflation. No man. It's totally Russia, okay? There's nothing to do with the inflation. It's totally Russia. Inflation is the rate at which prices for goods and services increase over time. In other words, it's the rate at how much more a person has to spend to get the same amount of goods or service. Biden and the Democrats have been pointing their fingers at Putin as the reason for the price hike, but Republicans are looking to the West Wing as the source of the economic troubles. Inflation is substantially outpacing wage growth, which means Americans have taken a pay cut under the Biden presidency. Jim Banks of Indiana told Fox News. Liberal Obama White House economists warned Democrats' reckless spending would hurt families, but Joe Biden and Pelosi simply didn't care and want to spend even more, Banks continued. Alright, so here are the 5 things. Groceries. Food costs across the board are expected to continue rising, with a warning of global food shortages coming from Biden last month. The president cited his sanctions of Russia for their war in Ukraine as a factor in the expected shortages. Kevin Hearn, a House Ways and Means Committee member, co-chair of the Small Business Caucus, told Fox News Digital that businesses rely on stability in the market and consistency from their government. From the farms that grow our food to the factories that process it to the truck drivers who deliver it to the grocery stores and restaurants, everyone is experiencing volatility in the aftermath of the pandemic restrictions and conflicting messages from the government, Hearn said. Fuel and gas. Georgia Rep. Boston Scott agreed with his fellow Republicans, saying that no American should have to choose between filling their gas tanks or their stomachs. But that's the reality for many under this admin. Not just the gas, the whole car. Additionally, car prices are up in the U.S. due to chip shortages and supply chain issues that have made buying a new car, including electric vehicles, difficult for many Americans. In fact, people who bought new cars in January 2022 were paying 12.2% more than they would have if they bought the car a year earlier. Market analyst Stephanie Brindley told Car and Driver that she did not see MSRPs going down, but that the price volatility could calm down once supply meets demand, predicting that to happen in late 2023, early 2024. Used car prices haven't escaped inflation either, with them being up 28%. Home energy. Food, fuel, and transportation are just 3 necessities for everyday American life, but inflation doesn't stop at the pump or the grocery store. People are feeling it at home too. Utility prices, which are driven by the fuel, have jumped on inflation too, with electricity costs up 9% in February and piped gas up 24%. And the whole home. Rent prices are up, as well as the average cost of a 2-bedroom apartment in February 2022 costing $1,295 a month, up nearly $200 from the average $1,100 price in February 2021. Reuters reported last week that the average rate for a 30-year fixed hit a 12-year high of 5.2%. This comes coupled with a cooling housing market as more potential buyers aren't purchasing homes. And the fact that the prime rate is going up. So there you go, 5 things that are going to cost you more under inflation. Let's do these 2, and then we'll head out of here for the day. We'll grab the rest of them tomorrow. From the Hill, Fox's Kennedy suggests getting rid of public schools amid school prayer fight. Based. From Dominic Mastrangelo. Video? No, they don't go with video. Why would they? A host on Fox News on Monday discussed during a discussion on school prayer case before the Supreme Court suggested local governments across the country should consider doing away with public schools, saying maybe we should not have the government involved in education at all. Lisa Kennedy, the host, offered remarks on Monday's Outnumbered during a discussion about a case involving a high school football coach who was reprimanded for holding a post-game prayer on the football field's 50-yard line. Kennedy said the case will be a very important case for religious liberty. That would be Lisa Kennedy Montgomery, not Lisa Kennedy, by the way. The moment, Kennedy said, could also serve as a great time in our country's history where we rethink whether or not we have public schools. Maybe we should not have the government involved in education at all. Based. Kennedy said eliminating the government from public schools would allow parents and teachers and admins to make those decisions themselves instead of having the government imposing it on them. It is the public school aspect of this that's creating the legal challenge, she added. Harris Faulkner, another host of the show, asked, and what do we do with the people who can't afford private? Like, what does that look like? Because each state allots some money. I'll tell you why I say that, Kennedy responded. It's because the 2 most powerful teachers unions in the country are opposed to Coach Joseph Kennedy. They're using their heft and their influence to make sure that he loses this case. So, and again, no video off of this. I want to see if I can find this now that I know that. What is this? Ah, yes, we do have the video. Haha, I found it. Let's listen.
Right to religious speech.
Yes, and the superintendent has to prove that he was ostracizing players and, not favoring them if they didn't participate. So far, what I have seen, they have not proven that. This will be a very important case for religious liberty, but also maybe a great time in our country's history where we rethink whether or not we have public schools. Maybe we should not have the government involved in education at all, so parents and teachers and administrators can make those decisions themselves instead of having the government impose it on them, because it is the public school aspect of this that is creating the legal challenge.
And what do we do with the people who can't afford private? Like, what does that look like? Because each state allots some money, so they would get that money, I would assume. Isn't that what Florida wanted to do?
Vouchers. That's what Florida did.
That's what Florida wanted to do.
Yeah, we could entirely rethink. Okay, I'll tell you why I say that. It's because the two most powerful teachers unions in the country are opposed to Coach Kennedy. They are using their heft and their influence to make sure that he loses this case.
Emily, you've dealt with the Ninth Circuit before. This is a case that came up through the Ninth Circuit. Previously...
So, my one criticism to this, and as I've seen more failings in the public schools, I am seeing more reason to do away with public schools, but my one criticism of this is that Kennedy did what she was talking about, that she completely avoided the question of what do we do with people who can't afford to go with it. Like, she completely went down the fact of, oh, this is what the teachers unions are doing off of this. There is going to be the question as to what to do with education from either kids who are from a lower echelon that need to go to public school, which I definitely grew up into. There was no private school option for me when I was growing up. And the blonde woman, I can't think of what her name is offhand, but came out and started talking about vouchers. That's one aspect to deal with this, but at that point, the government is back being involved in this once again. Once you have the vouchers, and it's still taxpayer funding, it's just taxpayer funding private industry. I don't know what the answer is to this. I know that continuing down the public school aspect, where kids are being indoctrinated to have a certain political belief and not even question the fact that they have that political belief, is not the answer. But unfortunately, I don't know what the answer is. So that is what we see from that. All right, and the last one we will do before we do something I'm thankful for. From the Hill, more stuff out of the admin. Why is it so fucking loud? Biden snapped at Kamala so harshly, even Republican senators were taken aback. During a meeting where the president was trying to persuade GOP members to back his $1 trillion social spending plan, book claims. So, there's no video of this. But I wanted to go over this just a little bit and talk about what we're seeing from this. From Morgan Phillips for DailyMail.com. Vice President Harris quickly learned not to come between President Biden and his negotiations with Congress when the president once snapped at her so harshly even Republican senators in the meeting were shocked. In a meeting last May, Biden tried to persuade Republican lawmakers to support the $1 trillion infrastructure spending, and while Biden was not ready for a compromise, Harris thought the bill was skimpy. Harris thought there was something missing from the conversation. New York Times reporters Jonathan Martin and Alexander Burns wrote in their book, "This will not pass, Trump, Biden, and the battle for America's future." She began turning the conversation towards Democratic priorities, including family and social spending, which were originally included in the larger Build Back Bullshit bill. She began to make the case for a larger package than the one Republicans seemed to have in mind. Biden dismissed the comment immediately, the authors wrote, in so harsh a tone that even Republican senators were taken aback. Biden was typically scrupulously respectful of his second-in-command, but the moment revealed the infrastructure negotiations were were his and his alone. I don't think that's the case that's going on here. The latest revelations in This Will Not Pass includes claims that Jill Biden was opposed to her husband selecting Harris as his running mate after she attacked him during the Democratic primary debate in June of 2019. It also follows reports last year of tension between Biden and Harris and allegations of bullying and a toxic culture from staff in her office. Biden also, according to the book, expressed reservations himself about selecting Harris for the ticket. Noting her past romantic relationship with Willie Brown, the California politician who appointed Harris to a pair of minor political positions, the book said Biden described romance as kind of thing that should be off limits. Harris had a relationship with Brown, who later served as San Francisco's mayor between 94 and 95, when Harris was beginning her career in the Alameda County District Attorney's Office. In other meetings, Harris kept quiet, and there was less friction. Now, if this is true, first and foremost, and who's doing this book? New York Times reporters Jonathan Martin and Alexander Burns. So first and foremost, I don't buy this at face value. I think this is bullshit. That is first thing. But if this is true, I don't think this is an allegation of racism, although I think that's going to play a part in this. And more that this is going to be an allegation, because what's one thing that happens with dementia? You can't control your anger. You don't know what's going on. You get frustrated with yourself and your own mind, and you do lash out at other people. You get angry about the fact that you can't remember. Coming from somebody whose mind is probably still set back to a time where Harris would be in the kitchen saying, "Yes, massa. Yes, massa. Yes, Massa Biden." And I think this is going to be another one of those things that come up. Like Biden has said that he's going to come back out and run again. But I truly think that he's going to get down at the end when he looks back at the fact that he was the same age as Trump is going to be if he decides to run again and say, you know what, man? I think it's time to pass the torch along to the younger crowd. I think I'm just too old to be president. Throwing Bernie under the bus, throwing Hillary under the bus, and throwing Trump under the bus. Pressured by things and allegations like this. I'm looking at this right now. I'm looking at the authors. I'm looking at the publication the authors work for. And I'm saying, X'd it out. Press X'd it out. It's the same thing with trusting Bob fucking Woodward at face value too by this point, though. I don't know why anybody would do that. He's repeatedly lied. He's repeatedly made things up, and he's repeatedly lied by omission just to make the certain president look bad. But that's where we're at. And that's where we're going to go from there. And with that, we're going to head out of here for the day. So before we head out of here for the day, the last thing that I always do on a Wednesday is talk about something that restores my faith in humanity, and something that I'm thankful for. Now, I could just easily cop out and say that I'm thankful for the laughs over the Twitter thing, because my God, the laughs, the entertainment. I don't think Elon's a savior. I don't think that he's going to do good things with Twitter, honestly. I know Spartan wants to talk about the Neuralink thing and testing on monkeys. I don't know enough about that to be able to make a definitive claim, and there's no clean check verified media that's confirmed that. What I know is this. Elon doesn't like it when people criticize him, which makes him like Trump. Elon has a bunch of money, and he's done a bunch of progressive things, he's done a bunch of liberal things, and for the most part, everything that he does is going up to try to make Elon Musk richer. But I look at the laughs. I laugh my ass off every time I see this major meltdown that's going on with the mainstream media, who might not be able to silence people. I look at it with the online personalities who aren't going to be able to silence the people that they don't like. I look at it with the people who are scared to death, running in a panicked flurry, screaming that Trump might be allowed back on the net platform. I look at all that, and I find that funny. But I'm thankful for this. The mask is off on a lot of different avenues. What I've looked at for this, and maybe this is taking away some of my faith in humanity, but I look at MAGA, for instance, Elijah Schaffer, MAGA Twitter, who think that the most important thing in the world is for Trump to be reinstated to Twitter. Showing the face. I mean, this whole thing with the Elon Musk thing, if it did anything good, took the mask off a lot of people. It made it so that a lot of people can't hide behind their biases or the preconceived notions that they're trying to talk about anymore. It took a lot of that mask off of there. The MAGA is shown for the religious worship cult that they are. The left progressives are shown for the fact that they cannot, their ideas cannot stand up if there are competing ideas out there. Everything that I see off of this, and of course the mainstream media, the media personalities out there with control. If we don't control the information, somebody might hear a competing idea. What do we do? It's so apparently blatantly obvious at this point. And I'm happy for that. I'm here for that. I love looking at the fact that some of these people have had their masks exposed, have had the faces underneath exposed, and I hope that we see more of it. If it had to be Elon to do it, well, I hope he makes I hope he throws another roadster into space or something. But other than that, it is what it is. You people who are out there plotting, screaming, trying to make a plan, trying to ruin Tesla so Elon can't go buy Twitter. It's all about control for them. And you love to see it. You love to watch it go. So that's what I'm thankful for. Plus the laughs, of course. Watching the meltdowns, watching people say that they will delete Twitter who have no intention of deleting Twitter. Like Sean King. That's been a fantastic time of my day. I'm so glad I got to see it. I'm glad I got to witness it. And with that, let's head out of here for the day. Where's my outro music? There it is. All right, so with that, we're going to head out of here for the day. Thanks everybody who came by and chatted in the live chat. Everybody who got their names in here. Looks like we had a good crowd today. Almost 11 up on the counter as far as I saw at one point. Oh, we're up to 13, so I'm guessing I haven't seen everybody's name in there, so get some of those last minute messages in. I do keep a record of the people who chat in the live chat, and I say special thank you by name every Friday. So if you're in here and just lurking, get at least one message in so I can say thank you, because I always appreciate the viewers. We'll be back here tomorrow with more contemporary, more news and more headlines, talking about what's happening here. I'm sure we'll be talking a little bit more about what's this other stuff that we have up here. The anti-Semitic incidents that have been recorded. Burks and Fauci are saying there was a resignation pact going on here. Rand Paul got into the news a little bit. We'll talk about that. We'll probably talk a bit about Ukraine. I'm sure there'll be more Twitter news. I'm sure that there'll be more government news. And the government's not going to stop being stupid. So come back here and we'll review the stupid of the day throughout the day. Today, we'll review that all tomorrow morning over here on Contemporary. We will see you next time. Stick around if you're on Twitch for a going rating. And hope to see you again. And until then, I am Jay Edgar. And this is Contemporary. Take care.